Now it seems as if your Prime Minister Andrew Holness must be one of the most naive, hard ears, foolish, fully dunces Prime Minister, or he is just corrupt as HELL. In 2016, a man known as George Neal, he said that he had some sorts of company, you might have heard about it. It was called Carousel, telecommunication company. At the time, when they did their due diligence, the contractor general said to Andrew Holness, you see this man, the CEO, major stakeholder in this company, he has all sorts of questionable stuff on his name. I do not think that you should enter into any sorts of deal, especially one for 2.7 billion Jamaican dollars. Andrew Holness went ahead and still gave those persons the authorization to get that license, even after the contractor general told him that he should not do so, and he laid out the reasons. A year after, that license for Carousel was revoked, based on the recommendation, based on all sorts of backlash and repercussion. Fast forward 2017, a year later, there's a company known as Dexim Limited. Same stakeholder, George Neal again, major investor, major broker in the company, Dexim Holding Limited. They were building some sorts of big development in a Ocherius, Discovery Bay, don't quote me on the place. The NHT went in on the deal. They offered them 2.5 billion with a B to develop at least 200 houses for contributors of the NHT National Housing Trust. Those houses were supposed to be delivered, completed in 2 years, which would have been 2019. 2019, fast forward 2020. Still no sorts of house, not one of the 200. The NHT, through its top lawyers, took Dexim Holding Limited to court, and they came to some sorts of amicable agreement that they were going to deliver 50 houses in or about August of 2022. 2022 has passed. They still have not received not one of the 50 or even worse, one of the 200 houses. When they went to court, George Neal, his lawyer and his affiliates said that, because of COVID situation, everything get more expensive. Everything kind of slow down because of shipping rate, lele, blue, blah, bling. Before I forget, the price of each house at the initial contract was supposed to be 12.5 million Jamaican dollars. 12.5 million Jamaican dollars. However, through their negotiating with the price hike and the Big C situation, the houses now jump from 12.5 to 18 million dollars. Even with the price hike, they were still not delivered. So people, follow me. When they went to court back in 2020 to 2022, people were saying, then hold on a minute, Andrew Holness went into a deal with Mr. George Neal. They know that Mr. George Neal had questionable name, questionable character. However, he still went ahead. The houses that were supposed to be delivered at 12.5 million Jamaican each a pop were now 18 million Jamaican a pop. They were supposed to deliver 50 and then the additional. However, up to this date, no sorts of houses, none at all, diddly squat. Fast forward, they went to court again. And based on the court hearing, it is said that both parties, meaning lawyer for Dexim Holding Limited and the NHT lawyer, agreed they came to some sort of amicable agreements. Dexim Limited was supposed to return the $650 million and I guess an additional 20 million Jamaican dollars that they got for deposit and also the interest. That is how they separated with some sorts of non-disclosure agreement. That means the people, either party cannot divulge exactly what transpired, what took place. Now people, here's the thing, and here's where the problem lies. These houses that were supposed to be for NG-DUMBE contributors were 12.5 million, jump up to 18 million. Those houses at present rates is estimated to be between 20 to 25 million dollars. So therefore, the 650 million deposits, 2.5 billion total, if you add the equity and assets that the NG-DUMBE and their contributors would have gained over the span from 2017 to 2024 would have doubled. So therefore, that 2.5 billion would now be $5 billion. That is considered loss in equity and asset that the NG-DUMBE did not get. However, Dexim Limited Holding or Holding Limited was able to take that 650 million Jamaican deposit of the 2.5 billion and put it, use it, get asset, get equity, and did not have to pay back nothing less than 20 million Jamaican dollars. People, what percentage is 20 million of 650 or even worse, $2.5 billion? I want you to take a look to what somebody that is closely associated with the case has to say. She's an MP, a lawyer, and then I'll give my piece.
In the stretch of the imagination, not in a situation where if it is that the contract had been performed according to the terms of the original agreement, these same houses, which were to be delivered at a cost of 12.5 million, are actually now being valued at and sold for $25 million. That's a loss to NG-DUMBE contributors, and it is a loss to the National Housing Trust, because it means that the equity that they would have had in those houses, they've lost that. I think that heads clearly need to roll for a situation like this. It cannot be business as usual. It cannot be that we're going to misuse the fund or the National Housing Trust and then expect that persons ought to accept it and carry on when we live in a situation where persons are in dire need of housing, and yet we have that case where a developer can simply utilize the funds and not live up to the terms of the agreement.
Now people, if you listen to what this lady said, she was 100% correct. You cannot misuse government's public purse, NG-DUMBE purse in such a way. And people, if we remember, the NG-DUMBE were also a part of SSL. That means the government finance minister invested in a SSL. They claimed that they got back their money and there was no sorts of losses. But people, you and I know more than likely that is not so. If the legendary sprinter Usain Bolt lost his money, NG-DUMBE contributors also lost their money. Just my opinion. So this lady is saying there is no sorts of repercussion. Nobody is held accountable. No sorts of head was rolled in any of this. The developer used the funds and there is no sorts of repercussion but 20 million Jamaican dollars, which would be less than one of those houses out of the 200 houses that they were supposed to deliver at 12.5 million a pop. So therefore, it seems as if with these type of negotiation, What type of lawyer does Dexim Holding Limited have? He must be powerful that these lawyers for the NHT. I wonder if it was Uncle Vinny that was representing the NHT. That was some sort of movie of a lawyer in which a man was using his cousin as his lawyer. He was even worse than a bush lawyer. So therefore, Uncle Vinny was not ish. What type of law school did these lawyers for the NHT come from or attend to make such a negotiation or agree to terms like this, where pretty much them lend out money at 0% return, and then them get back the same money with just $20 million, not one house. Pretty much in this deal, they lost about $2.5 billion based on the price of the house back in 2017, based on the equity in the house in 2024. What type of negotiating skill does those lawyers have? People, it tells you that somebody is getting some sorts of kickback, because there is definitely no sorts of rational or common sense for any sorts of lawyer representing any sorts of government or public body to agree to such an agreement, especially with non-disclosure agreement in a part of the term. So therefore, your sister, there is some sorts of shaky stuff. Now people, if you think that that is not bad enough, this is exactly what the CEO or the top man for the NHT, his name is Martin Miller, had to say. Take a listen, take a look, and then I'll give my piece.
No, I do not think so. I follow the rules. I follow the established practices of the organization, and that's what we have done.
Now, people, you heard what Mr. Martin had to say. He was following the protocol. He was doing exactly what was stipulated, what is in his job description. He was taking orders from people that are bigger than him. Now people, the sad thing is that whenever we talk about these wrongs that are being perpetuated by these MPs, by these government bodies, by these prime minister, by these politicians, you always have a set of sheepers that come out, and even when it is clearly wrong, even when there is corruption, they are going to defend them, they are going to shield them. However, before you make a comment, this is my disclaimer. You guys need to grow some BALLS. Pull up your skirt because you're acting like some sorts of BITCH made cheerleader. What about the future of your children? Are you ever going to see when something makes sense or it makes no sorts of sense? Are you ever going to call out corruption, or are you that brainwashed and FUCKED literally by these MPs, by these politicians, that you're blinded, pretty much walking through life with your eyes wide shut? So people, at the end of the day, this is clearly a next case of corruption. This is clearly makes no sorts of sense, makes no sorts of rational. Nobody anywhere with any sorts of common sense, with an iota of common sense, would make any sorts of negotiation or agree to anything like this. People, this is blatantly corruption and cronyism in its worstest sense. Point blank and period. So anyways, people, thanks once again for checking out my video. If you appreciate videos like these, please show your appreciation by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. That is how YouTube promotes videos like these to like-minded, sensible persons like yourself. And last but not least, please subscribe to my next channel. It is called Jamaica Dancehall Source. I'll be pinning the link to that channel in the description of this video. Bless up.